Very nice, team. Now we can move on to item 12. Draft Te Puna Maunga Operational Plan. We've got the recommendation there. And they're included in the mirror report, so... Oh, here it is. They are actually not. They are here. Budget endorsed by the Te Puna Maunga. I think that letter went everyone. Tanya?
Just waiting for the officer.
What's the state of the air conditioning in here? It's sort of quite much.
Apologies. The staff are racing over now. They thought they were going to be considered later in the day, but I can hopefully respond to any questions.
Mr. Chairman, this will be the last opportunity that we have Grant Taylor formally addressing us, and I would really like to give him the opportunity to present this. I wonder whether you would indulge me by delaying this until such time as the appropriate staff are here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very happy to do that. Sorry about that, Tanya.
It's okay.
Now, who's got overall stewardship of this room today?
No, but it's very
Michael.
hot in here.
Michael, it does seem to be a bit stuffy in here.
It's very stuffy and very hot.
Okay, we've definitely captured the spirit of the chamber. There is unanimous agreement to the fact that it is hot and stuffy.
But we'll note that, shall we,
Hot
Mr.
air,
Chairman?
that
There's
will be
one-
noted.
one
It is
point
not
today.
unanimous. You can be stuffy if you want, but I don't.
Oh, thank you. Councillor Chris, you are so
Keep
kind.
those curtains shut. Can
Michael?
you open the curtains? It's like
Open the curtains.
dungeon
Yeah, open
in
the
a
curtains.
They've got a thing about.
It's all right, we're allowed to look behind us.
No. It actually sort of opens it up.
Ah, it's better. Better. That's better.
Much better.
Oh,
I don't know why they insist on doing that.
it appears we won't be as clear on the webcast.
Extra light.
It's going to be all right.
Too bad.
Do we care?
No. That's right. We'll just hear it. Do they want us to put makeup on as well? And do it?
Nice.
Yeah.
High definition.
What are you doing? You're wandering around in the Netherland there?
I was looking for Grant.
Right. Oh, okay. That's all right. Well,
We've just given
no,
you
if
the
they actually turn up, do
opportunity
you expect Grant sort of here
No,
about now?
No, it's Mason's
that's all right. We can do it.
But yeah, actually, I was just responding to a comment from Councillor Chris F.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I had suggested, Mace, that in light of Grant's pending retirement, that it might be nice to wait until he was here to present, but we can do so now if that is the...
Yeah, look, is Grant actually...
Might not even be coming out.
Yep, nice. Okay, so we'll hopefully get Grant in during the course of this discussion, and so we can filibuster.
You can talk about it when he's
That's
got
right.
Parakai.
Ace. Yes, what's her name? Justine, lovely. And Mace. Right, who's got the baton? Ace?
While they're finding their time, I'm happy to move the recommendations, and I'm sure that colleagues will second
Councillor Chris
for
will second.
purposes of discussion.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you very much, Councillor Chris. Very much on your toes today. It's excellent. Right, Mace, way you go.
Oh, Your Worship, councillors, the budget process with the Te Puna Maunga Authority and has worked its way through the Have Your Say events and through the proposed operational plan that's developed in quite a different way, I guess, than many other organisations or entities across the council, and a collaborative approach really looking towards the spatial priorities and the Auckland plan goals and objectives, particularly around World Heritage, but how we can really activate these important cultural heritage sites and make a real difference for visitors to Auckland and the people of Auckland. We know that many of these sites have increased the demand of visitation, so places like Mangawhau, in the last 5 years, Mangawhau Mount Eden has increased by 25% visitation through activating greater levels of visitor service, and particularly with the cruise ship market. We know these places will come under increasing pressure. There has been, quite honestly, a legacy of underinvestment that this plan seeks to address through a program around restoration of cultural heritage restoration, but also acknowledging that that significant opportunity for tourism and as visitor destinations. So that's really the focus. The other focus is around how revenue can be generated from that visitor experience and destination management to offset some of the costs. The authority has also applied reserve funding from a targeted rate to apply into the tupuna maunga. But very much there's an approach of how we change the language and the lens we look at these important cultural heritage sites, but at the same time engage the broader community in understanding the value of these places. So happy to answer questions, Your Worship.
Very good. Mace? Questions and comments? Councillor Chris F.
As the Deputy Chair of the Maunga Authority, it is very pleasing for me to see these recommendations coming forward with the unanimous support of the Maunga Authority. I'd like to acknowledge the work that has been undertaken by Justine Smith in her role, along with Mace and of course that of Grant, who has overseen this entire process. As Mace has highlighted, there has been I think a shameful legacy of underinvestment in these maunga. When we look to the future, I mean, they're very much part of the landscape that define Auckland, Tamaki Makaurau, and there is a big challenge. I'm sure that there were members of the Maunga Authority that would have liked to have seen significantly more being proposed in this, but I believe that there will be sufficient for us to begin to make that investment that will make an application in terms of World Heritage Fund credible, and right at the moment if we were to apply it just simply wouldn't be credible. So I think it's a bit of a balancing act, but there is certainly opportunity for the future. Already the Maunga Authority is experiencing great interest in terms of filming applications and all sorts of commercial opportunities. These are being sensitively happening, but there is this historic underinvestment. We need to get on top of that so that we can actually move forward. There are great opportunities. It is regrettable that we as yet do not have the situation with government resolved in terms of Mangaweka, and maybe Mace might like to comment on that and when we can expect to see that in the pipeline. But other than that, I give it my support and thank those officers and members of the Maunga Authority for the great spirit of cooperation that we've had as we move through to Hui 8, number 8. This is, this is unprecedented. This is a historic moment in terms of co-governance, and from my experience, it's working really well.
Thank you, Councillor Chris, and congratulations for your good work as the Deputy thus far to Paul. It's looking very, very good, and there seems to be a very collaborative spirit. David, Member Dave.
Kia ora, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if it's appropriate now, Mr. Chairman, or in your item 13 report where you make reference to Māori transformational shifts. But I guess my first thing I want to say is that acknowledge the Maunga Authority, principally as a treaty settlement redress mechanism. I do not accept that it can be seen solely as a Māori outcome, and I'll be speaking to that later in terms of your report. I do support, obviously, the Maunga Authority in terms of the role it plays and the budget that it's put forward, and I'm aware, obviously, that they support that, and we support that as the Independent Māori Statutory Board. But we do not want it to go any further being unsaid that it is veiled as a Māori outcome.
Yeah, we'll deal with that.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I think
as each
point comes to the worship, I will address it.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm still waiting on the response from Mace on Mangaweka.
Oh, right. There was a question in there. Sorry.
Well, there was a question, Your Worship. Councillor Fletcher, the negotiations with the Department of Conservation are still occurring over Mangaweka. It's very clear that we're seeking a contribution to ensure that in contemplating any transfer and reporting back to the council that there's a fair recognition of the current condition of those assets and maintenance of those assets, so that it's not a transfer of cost onto the council.
Very good.
Maintenance.
Thank you. Councillor Cam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mace, I was just wanting to know what was, by the Maunga Authority, what was their formal initial request for funding in numerical terms as far as operational and capital, and how does that compare to what we're seeing today?
So this does form their first request for funding. So there was an initial operational plan. Probably the only difference that was discussed was keeping the targeted rate of 2.5 million as a reserve. That was more discretionary, and then having that targeted rate applied to the proposed increase in operational budget to meet some of the demands was a significant decision for the authority to make.
Thank you, Mace. Just some comments on that, Mr. Mayor. I accept what's been said around the importance of the manga and our cultural heritage in Tamaki Makaurau, the World Heritage status that one day might become a reality if we invest in this, the huge underinvestment by previous TLAs in our manga. But what concerns me, and I think you've alluded it to in the past, is the manga authority seem to be the only ones happy in this LTP, and I just really, before voting for this, I would have liked to have seen some comparative figures for the previous 10 years on what we were spending on manga authority, and I would also have liked to have seen some real pushback by this organisation when the request for 45 million of capital funding came through and 30 million of OPEX, and as the officer has confirmed, this is not the finalised proposal. This is their first ask, their first request, and for me, I just don't see enough contestability. I don't see enough pushback. I don't see enough comparative analysis with previous spend. So I just can't support it when every other element of this LTP, our local boards, our communities, our other amenities, parks and fundings, libraries, they've all been told to sharpen their pencil, they've all been sent back, yet this is accepted on first sight, and as a principle I can't accept that.
All right, Councillor Christie.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, I do support this, and I'll maybe answer Councillor Brewer's question in part, because I did have the same questions, but a very long time ago. Look, I just want to raise the point that I have been critical of the plundering of the environmental management budgets that we'll see later on. But here we have the Manga Authority, which is established by a statute of the Parliament, and we're inheriting the cost of implementing that statute. Let's remind ourselves of that. Those budget responsibilities have been transferred to us. I really want to stress briefly that the maunga are unique, not just because they are landscape, not just because they are natural landscape. It's been said by my colleague, the Deputy Chair of the Maunga Authority, that they are severely degraded. I think we all know that they're coming off a very low base. And, you know, when you read Auckland as a visitor for the first time, or you tell others overseas about Auckland and you explain its context, its physical context, you know, being gripped by two oceans, and it has 3 harbours, and it's got these magnificent islands and this gulf, and you go on to describe this volcanic field, and that's when people click in. There's plenty of cities with oceans and harbours, but there's none, to my knowledge, that actually have that other factor of sitting in a volcanic field with the harbours and the oceans. But it's not just about natural landscape. This is cultural landscape. It is a landscape where people lived, and that living is long lost, and of course the Maunga Authority is trying to reclaim that particular history. They are living places. They're not just natural environments that we're trying to restore here. The Maunga Authority, at its outset, when it was discussing these budgets, all 3 councillors that sit on that Maunga Authority, and I think the local board representatives there too, we said this budget is going to be tough. We don't want to be playing any silly games, toing and froing. We put our very best offer up from day one, and all 6 of us, I believe, representing this council, said we wanted a realistic budget, not one that we were going to put up at you know, 75 million for CapEx and eventually settle at 45 million. We were not going to play those games. We were going to play it straight bet all the way, and we put up the straight numbers of 45 million CapEx and what was it, $36 million in OPEX. So significant work has been done by your appointees around the Maunga Authority table. We've worked really hard and there's been some resistance, and these are the numbers that have landed after a lot of hard work.
Well said.
Councillors, anything else?
And that's how the negotiation
Right,
should
well,
be.
it's been moved and seconded. I'll move it. Second, please. Councillor Chris Fletcher. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against?
No. Recorded.
Thank you.
Right.
Record minus one, please.
Right, move